The Internet will continue to allow for a greater exchange of ideas. Some colleges are going to ban access to social networking sites on campuses. Use modals could, might, and may to express possibility. The Internet will continue to allow for a greater exchange of ideas. Some colleges are going to ban access to social networking sites on campuses. Use modals could, might, and may to express possibility in the future. The use of social networking sites by recruiters for jobs could increase in the next few years. Use should to express an expectation. New technology should make communication more efficient. Use would to express an expectation based on either a stated or unstated condition. Banning note-taking on laptops. Use modals could, might, and may to express possibility in the future. The use of social networking sites by recruiters for jobs could increase in the next few years. Use should to express an expectation. New technology should make communication more efficient. Use would to express an expectation based on either a stated or unstated condition. Banning note-taking on laptops would prevent students from using the Internet during classes. If the school implements the ban now, it would see major benefits within the next few months. Use these phrases to write about something that will likely happen in the near future, is due to, is about to. The new version of the phone is due to come out by next year. The company is about to introduce a new app. It seems likely that younger teachers will be more comfortable with educational technology. Younger teachers are likely to be more comfortable with using technology. The school is considering prohibiting all unauthorized Internet access on campus. We anticipate focusing only on student performance scores, not other factors. The students hope to maintain their high school friendships online. The university intends to investigate the effects of technology on student performance. Large technology companies plan to move many applications to phones and other digital devices. Writers use particular words to present an opposing view, to acknowledge that an opposing view phrases for argumentation. Writers use particular words to present an opposing view, to acknowledge that an opposing view has some merit, and to refute or disprove the opposing view. It has been argued that the Internet has caused groups to form more quickly than in the past. Clearly, the Internet offers access to a wealth of information. However, some students need more guidance than others in using online resources. It has been argued that young people handle information in a much different way. It has been claimed that it is important for adolescents to spend time away from electronic devices. It could be argued that video games allow children to develop critical thinking skills. Logical connectors that show a point of view. Clearly, increased access to information results in a benefit. Obviously, few want to return to the old system of information gathering. Internet research is different, of course, and it requires specific strategies to get proper results. Use these phrases to introduce a refutation or to dispute an argument. However, it is not true that. That may be so, but unfortunately, this is simply not true. While it is true that this is simply use these phrases to introduce a refutation or to dispute an argument. However, it is not true that. That may be so, but unfortunately, this is simply not true. While it is true that this is simply not true is the most common of these phrases. Opposing view: some claim that violence on TV leads to violence at refutation school. However, this is simply not true. Opposing view: while it is true that toy/designed video games can help children think creatively, they do not replace refutation physical interaction with others. Words and phrases that limit overgeneralization. Overgeneralization. Writers of persuasive essays need to provide facts to support their arguments and points. However, it is important to be careful about the language used to express these ideas. Some phrases can help limit overgeneralizations and make claims more accurate and therefore more credible. Limiting claims is also called hedging. This statement is likely to cause arguments. Television violence seems to be everywhere. In most cases, parents try to control what their children watch on television. Experts who study violence seem to appear to disagree with one another's conclusions. We do not know all the experts who study violence, but from what we have read, they do not agree with one another. Children who watch many hours of TV every day are likely to tend to be exposed to violent programs. We do not know that all children will be exposed to violent programs, but we suspect that it is true most of the time. It seems that parents are becoming more cautious about what programs their children should watch on TV. In most cases, children can tell the difference between cartoon violence and real violence. Children will typically show higher levels of aggression after watching violence on TV. According to the report, the television industry is not policing itself to the satisfaction of parents. Past perfect and past perfect progressive. In academic writing, the past perfect and the past perfect progressive can be used to contrast earlier background events and information with other later events and information in the past. By the 1990s, housing costs had increased dramatically, and job security had become much less certain than for previous generations. When Bob got his first job, his brother had already been working for several years. Earlier event: by midnight, he had finished most of his work. Later event: so he decided to go to bed. Later event: earlier event: when she arrived, the class had already started. By the time she registered for classes, the semester had already begun. She started college after she had earned enough money to pay for the first year. First event, second event. When she arrived, the class started. Nesrine was nervous on her first day of work. She'd never had a job before. For years, many people had considered the American dream to be achievable. Then the economy changed. Past events with adverbs and frequency expressions. No one in her family had ever attended college before. She'd already talked to a few colleges, but she hadn't applied. F1 she needed to find a way to pay the tuition. They'd recently applied for a grant, and were waiting for a final response. Using past perfect and past perfect progressive. Past perfect, they had experienced many challenges, so they decided to make a pact. Past perfect progressive, they had been experiencing many challenges, so they decided to make a pact. She had known that she wanted to be in education since she was a young girl. Not GHEDBEEFLKFLOWIFLG, that she wanted to be in education since she was a young girl. He'd been talking about applying to medical school. Medical school for a long time. Finally, last January, he applied. First event, they'd been working for about an hour. Second event, when the bell rang. Present perfect and present perfect progressive. In problem solution writing, the present perfect and present perfect progressive. In problem solution writing, the present perfect is used to describe situations, recent research, or trends that have an impact on a problem. The present perfect emphasizes a time in the past up to now. The time period may or may not be completed, but in both cases there is a connection to the present. The present perfect progressive describes an action that started in the past, and emphasizes that it is still going on. Genetically modified food has been available in grocery stores for many years. Researchers have been studying the impact of GM foods on our health. Some researchers demonstrated that genetically modified foods may cause damage to humans. Completed event. The consumption of GM foods has increased significantly in the last 10 years. The event may continue till the simple past. Sales of GM foods increased dramatically between 2007 and 2077. Researchers jgx.uli.gov in TJ9 had some GM foods may not cause health problems. The discovery is important and relevant now. It is true that most EOQLE have not noticed Noun clauses with WH words and if/whether. WH noun clause readers have to decide which expert they trust. Readers are concerned about who seems the most credible. Students have to learn how they can evaluate sources. Not non-identifying relative clauses. The National Institute of Mental Health non-identifying relative clause, which is a government agency, conducts research on the effects of violence on children. Brad J. Bushman and Craig A. Anderson, who are on the faculty (21) Subordinators and prepositions that show cause, reason, or purpose. Some subordinators and prepositions show cause, reason, or purpose in academic writing. They answer the question why. Both subordinators and prepositions may be a word or a phrase. Some people buy products they do not need only because they are on sale. We often choose what products to buy as a result of past experience. Independent clause. Dependent clause. Some consumers purchase certain products because they want to maintain their self-image. Effect cause/reason. Some consumers buy products because they want to be like their friends. Purpose. Some consumers buy green products so that they can appear environmentally aware. Some people choose PR tilde-CTS because of FJR'(IR) past tense. Transition words and phrases that show effect. Another important way to link cause and effect in academic writing is with transition words and phrases. Transition words often signal a cause, a reason, or an effect. Sometimes people buy products that show that they are part of a social network. Therefore, they might choose an expensive pair of jeans because the jeans are popular with their friends. Environmental values might affect some purchases. Consequently, many merchants offer green products. Environmental values might affect some purchases. Consequently, many merchants offer green products. Many consumers are concerned about the environment. As a result, they buy products that are environmentally safe. Some consumers feel the need to be part of a certain group, therefore, they buy products that are expensive and fashionable. Adverb clauses of contrast and concession. Adverb clauses can show many different relationships. Adverb clauses of contrast and concession are common grammatical constructions in academic writing, and are especially useful in comparison and contrast writing. In some cultures, punctuality is important, while in other cultures, people arrive at events quite late. Even though most companies train their executives, cross-cultural problems still arise. The official language of Brazil is Portuguese, while in Colombia it is Spanish. In Mexico, the length of the meeting varies according to the needs of its participants, while in the United States, the time is generally set and unchanging. Women in the United States work an average of 47 hours per week, whereas women in Europe work about 30 hours per week. While some countries are open to immigration, other countries have strict policies against it. Some customs may be perceived as inappropriate in some countries, whereas they are perfectly acceptable in others. Adverb clause of concession. Although business people are careful about cultural differences, unexpected misunderstandings sometimes occur during business transactions. Even though face-to-face communication is preferred, sometimes business has to be conducted virtually. The company is doing more business with South America, while in the past, it conducted business more frequently with Europe. Transition words and phrases that show contrast and concession. Another important way to signal differences, or transition words and phrases that show contrast and concession. Another important way to signal differences, or unexpected results in comparison and contrast writing is with transition words and phrases. Nodding means yes in some countries, however, this is not universal. U.S. executives prefer time limits for meetings. In contrast, Greeks see them as less necessary. Despite their significant cultural differences, Mexico and China are strong trade partners. In some Asian cultures, it is impolite to arrive late at a meeting without an explanation. In contrast, in some European cultures, it is more natural to view schedules and start times as guidelines. North Americans usually smile when they greet other people. On the other hand, they don't always shake hands. Some African cultures do not use the firm handshake common in the United States. Instead, they prefer gentle, slightly longer touching of hands. In some Asian cultures, it is impolite to arrive late at a meeting without an explanation. In some European cultures, in contrast, it is more natural to view schedules and start times as guidelines. In India, gift-giving is common. However, the gifts do not need to be expensive. Adapting to another culture's customs is not a weakness. On the contrary, it builds stronger relationships, and is simply good business. Table manners are informal in Canada. In contrast, Moroccan dining usually requires an understanding of a complex set of rules. These two cultures contrast in their table manners. It is not common for people in Turkey to give gifts in a business relationship. On the other hand, they give gifts freely among family members. Giving gifts enter key contrasts in business and personal settings. Nevertheless and nonetheless show unexpected facts or ideas. Learning about a new culture can be frustrating. Nevertheless, a little effort will lead to both personal and professional rewards. Students may be anxious about studying abroad. Nonetheless, it is a once-in-a-lifetime chance that should be considered. In spite of their cultural differences, international students usually create close friendships. Noun phrase, verb plus, ing phrase. In spite of coming from different cultures, international students usually become very close friends. Replacement idea. Some African cultures prefer shaking hands gently, idea being replaced instead of shaking hands firmly like in the United States. In this section, you will write a comparison and contrast essay using either the point-by-point or the block method. Before you start writing, you will learn how to write effective conclusions. About conclusions. The conclusion is the final paragraph of an In this section, you will write a comparison and contrast essay using either the point-by-point or the block method. Before you start writing, you will learn how to write effective conclusions. About conclusions. The conclusion is the final paragraph of an essay. The conclusion is the writer's last opportunity to make an impact on the reader. The following are different techniques to end an essay in a way that makes an impact. 1. Link back to ideas from the first paragraph of the essay. For example, the writer could link to the hook from the introduction, or restate the main idea of the essay. In the conclusion below, the writer refers to the hook in the introductory paragraph, in which there is an anecdote about a business person who inappropriately arrived on time in a culture with which he was unfamiliar. In conclusion, successful international businesses must train their executives to be aware of cultural differences. The business person who arrived on time for the social event did not realize how impolite his actions could be. Learning a few key facts about the target culture can lead to greater success in business. 2. Ask a thought-provoking question. The writer can add a question about one of the main points in the essay, as a way for readers to continue to think about the topic. However, the writer should not include questions that were not addressed in the essay. In conclusion, successful international businesses must train their executives to be aware of cultural differences. If it is known that there is no universal agreement on what is considered polite, shouldn't people be more willing to respect cultural differences when conducting businesses with other countries? 3. Discuss potential consequences. The conclusion may include a prediction for the future, sometimes by giving a warning, a recommendation, or a call for action. In conclusion, successful international businesses must train their executives to be aware of cross-cultural issues. When someone is doing international business, it is important to never assume that what is considered polite in one culture is universal. Instead, it is essential to understand and respect other traditions. Include a relevant quote. Including a quote from an expert on the essay topic can help create a powerful conclusion. The quote should be closely related to the ideas in the essay. In conclusion, successful international businesses must train their executives to be aware of cultural differences. Of course, knowing individuals is as important as knowing the culture. As Gary Angelanti, 2000, a noted professor at UCLA, stated recently, the danger in considering cultural differences is that of stereotyping people. Introductory paragraph. The hook, overcoming poverty is